Hey everybody! Okay, I'm gonna make shepherd's pie in 10 minutes. So, I just wanted to show you what I do in my kitchen here. And so, first of all, I've got my pan heating up here. I am going to add a little bit of butter to my pan with some garlic, because everything tastes better with butter and garlic. So there's my butter. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. And just give the garlic a minute to saute in there for a minute. Okay? Now what I'm going to be doing is adding a bunch of freeze-dried ingredients into there so I can whip this together really fast. The advantage to cooking with freeze-dried food is that my meat is already cooked, so all it has to do is just soak up some water to come back to life. My vegetables are already chopped and washed and prepped, and so what used to be a lengthy process to make shepherd's pie is now a 10-minute prep. So here we go. We've got our butter and our garlic ready to go. I just realized I need to turn my oven on. And so here is freeze-dried beef. It looks just like regular fresh freeze-dried beef, or I'm sorry, regular fresh beef, but this is actually dry. It's crunchy. And it's safe to eat straight out of the can if you want a crunchy meat snack, because it's already cooked. So I'm going to add that in to my butter and garlic. I'm going to add my chopped onions. I don't know if you can see that, but they're already chopped up and ready to go. I just scooped them out of the can. I'm going to add my freeze-dried green beans, and these are really, really yummy. They taste way better than canned green beans. I actually used to hate canned green beans when I was a kid because I thought, because they're slimy and gross and disgusting. These are really good and crunchy and nutty. I love to just dip them in hummus for a snack. So I'm going to add that to my little pan, give it a stir. I'm also going to add freeze-dried corn, and this corn in particular is non-GMO, which is pretty dang amazing and hard to find out there. So freeze-dried corn, and then freeze-dried chopped tomatoes are going in there. And lastly, I have, this is a tomato sauce mix that is non-GMO, no MSG, and certified gluten-free. So I'm going to throw that in there, stir it all together, and then all I need to do is add some water to it. And we're just going to give the water just a couple of minutes here, just to, for everything to soak up the water in there and come back to life. And then that will be our base for the shepherd's pie. Now, meanwhile, I'm going to make my mashed potatoes, and this is my favorite part. I have always been a mashed potato snob. I was raised with mashed potatoes being made out of raw, just whole potatoes that were chopped up and boiled lovingly and smashed and add all sorts of good stuff to it. And I love mashed potatoes that way, but the reality is I don't always have time to make potatoes that way. Now, when I was a kid, sometimes I would have mashed potatoes that were made from like a powdered mashed potato mix, and I could always tell the difference because it had just an off flavor that just tasted funky, and I didn't know what it was as a kid, but as an adult, not too long ago, I looked at one of the packages of the instant spuds, the Idaho spuds that you get at the grocery store, and the ingredient list is like this long, no joke. It's got all sorts of things that I can't pronounce. It's unreal. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to have food that has all sorts of weird things in it to have the convenience. So the mashed potatoes that I'm using here are they are dehydrated potato flakes, and that's all that's in it. There's nothing added to it at all. It's just straight up potato flakes, and so you can get the same flavor of real homemade mashed potatoes that you can with these potato flakes, because there's nothing weird in it. So all I'm going to do to these is add a little bit of boiling water to it. And I used to like get all scientific and measure it out, and I found that sometimes when I measured it, I got what I thought I was going to get, and sometimes I didn't. So now I just kind of eyeball it. I just add boiling water until it's the texture that I like. And that way it's not like too soft or too runny. That's one of my biggest complaints about the instant mashed potato, the instant spud mixes that you get. They're always like runny and weird. And this way, I just add a little bit of water to it until it's ready to go. So, alright, we're almost there. Now, one key ingredient that I also need to add, both to the base and to the mashed potatoes, is I need to add my seasoning. So I'm going to add just some Italian seasoning blend to my base there. And then I'm also going to add some to the mashed potatoes. It really kicks up the flavor a notch. The other thing that's important to add to the base that I'm making here is bouillon. And I have to say, not all bouillon is created equal. I'm sure you already know that. I used to use those obnoxious bouillon cubes, and they are a pain to break up. They have MSG and weird stuff in it. They have a ton of sodium. They take a long time just to dissolve in whatever you're making. So I really like this powdered bouillon. It dissolves instantly when I add it to water. There's no MSG in it. It comes together so beautifully, and the flavor is fantastic. So I can just dump that in there real quick. My base is now come to a boil, and let's see. We're at 8 minutes since I started, and we're just about ready to throw this thing together. So the last thing that I'm going to add to my mashed potatoes here is a little bit of butter, because let's face it, mashed potatoes need butter. They just do. Butter is what makes mashed potatoes good. So I'm going to just stir this together, and then we're going to pile it all together in the pan and throw it in the oven. So that's pretty much all there is to it. So I'm going to give the butter a minute to go here, and we'll go ahead and start piling this in the pan. So I'm going to show you what I got here so far. It's a little bit soupy right now, but that's okay because it'll thicken up in the oven a little bit. But you can see beautiful corn, green beans, and ground beef in this. My kids actually, for some reason, they think they don't like green beans, but they actually really like this shepherd's pie recipe, and they gobble it up without any complaints about green beans in it. So here we go. I don't know if you can see my pan. You can, sort of. I'm going to scoop this all in there. So here's my 8x8 pan here. And we're going to add our mashed potatoes on top. Now the reason I didn't measure the water is because the recipe calls for more water, and it turns out being a little bit soupier. I like my mashed potatoes to be nice and firm so they stick together like that. So we're going to just spoon that on top. Here's our shepherd's pie with the mashed potatoes on top. And the final touch of love I'm going to add is just some shredded cheese, because everything is better with butter and cheese. And there we go. shepherd's pie ready to go into the oven. I'm going to bake this in the oven for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Since the meat's already cooked and everything, really all it needs to do is just melt the cheese and maybe cook long enough to cook off some of the liquid in the base below. But really, you could just about eat it straight out of the pan like this. So I'm going to bake it for 15 minutes and then I'll post a picture of it when we're done. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful for you, and if you have any questions, feel free to just comment below and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.